Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Jacobs, the director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at Towson University. Welcome to the Osher preview of fall classes. Today you'll hear from many of our instructors who will tell you about their upcoming courses, and that will begin in a few minutes. But first, a few things you need to know. If you want to take a look at the Osher Fall Catalog, please visit www.towson.edu/Osher and click on the Fall Catalog PDF. Registration will open starting on Tuesday, August 5th. If you have questions about registration, please email us at osher@towson.edu. Please be patient with us as we work to answer everyone's questions. Online registration is preferred. We will accept mail-in registrations, but you must let us know that you've mailed it in by following up with an email to osher@towson.edu along with the names of the courses you want to take. I want to tell you a little bit about our schedule. Online classes will be offered on Mondays and Fridays. Most of the online classes will be recorded, so pay attention to the catalog for a note that will let you know if a course is not being recorded. We know that the in-person experience is important to many of you for the camaraderie and community. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, our in-person classes will meet. These will not be recorded. Starting this semester, we are excited to have all of our in-person classes meet at Edenwald Senior Living, which is a cherished community partner for both Osher and Towson University. In addition to free parking right across from the building, we appreciate the welcoming atmosphere and the high value they place on lifelong learning. Thank you for joining us today. If you are new to Osher, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, thank you for your continued participation. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the following preview presentations.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. I'm just doing a little practicing in my basement, but I am also super excited for my offering this fall for the Towson Osher program. I'm going to be doing 4 weeks on the roots of the blues at Edenwald starting Wednesday, October 15th. And we're going to talk about the early history of this fabulous American musical genre. We're going to start in the decades immediately after the Civil War, where this music first developed in the rural African American South. We'll talk about William Christopher Handy, the guy who came along at the end of the 19th century and adapted this music to the piano and to Western musical notation and really spread it to the rest of the country. And we'll talk about some of the fabulous female blues belters of the 1920s, vocalists like Mamie Smith, Bessie Smith, no relation, Ma Rainey, Alberta Hunter, Ethel Waters. Now, there is going to be a lot of drinking, drug use, and sex. In the lyrical matter, of course. But we're going to listen to a lot of great music. We'll be able to touch on a lot of issues pertaining to American history. And yes, I'll bring some instruments and play some live music for you as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see you in October. Back to practicing for me.
My name is Emmanuel Abramowitz, and I will be teaching a class called The Best Rock Songs of All Time. Put some rock fans in the same room and they will ask each other, what's your favorite song? Some will say Smoke on the Water. Others will favor a Queen song, but there are so many great classics. With audio visuals and stories, let's discuss what makes a song great and who's behind it. Let's enjoy this journey that instead to a highway to hell leads to a stairway to heaven. So don't miss it. See you soon online and be ready to rock and roll.
Hello, I am Jack Sinnigan. I'm a professor emeritus of Spanish and Intercultural Communication from UMBC. I am holding a copy of the first edition of 100 Years of Solitude in Spanish that I read shortly after it was published in 1967. Afterwards, during my long career at UMBC, I taught it at least 15 times in Spanish. In 2015, I visited Aracataca, Garcia Marquez's hometown, where I got a good sense of what Macondo was about. Recently, there's a new series, Netflix series based on the novel. In this course, we will discuss the novel along with the Netflix series. I hope to see you there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Burkert. You may know me from the Osher Institute. I've been doing Baltimore history programs for a number of years now, and really enjoy having you with me on those programs. I was doing a program about the 1920s a couple of years ago, really, and ran across Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald as Baltimoreans. They were Baltimoreans for about 5 years in the 1930s. And in any case, I took an interest, did a bio. I'm particularly proud of the bio I've done of Zelda Fitzgerald, who's very much underrated as a writer and that sort of thing. Anyway, we have a program about Zelda this fall. I'm going to introduce it by talking to you about the lost generation, who were the writers of the 1920s who went to Europe to escape the times in America. Zelda was one of those people that went, so that's the second subject. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do these literary figures, and I'm going to do Baltimore, well, where would I be without a program about Henry Mencken? And so H.L. Mencken becomes another program in this series. And then finally, I was running across some of the figures of the 20s, and Dorothy Parker popped up on my radar screen. Dorothy Parker, the wit of the 20s, fascinating human being, wonderful story about her life and times. So we're going to do 4 bios in September on Zoom, and we're going to do the Lost Generation, and we'll do Zelda, and then we'll do Mencken, and then we'll do Dorothy Parker. I think you'll enjoy them. They're a lot of fun on Zoom. The first series session, 4 weeks on Zoom in September at the Osher Institute. Please join me. We hope to see you there. Bye now.
And it came to pass that in those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that a census of the whole world had to be taken. My guess is that these words resonated with many of you on an emotional level. Why? Because these words and the story they introduce have spawned the biggest religious and cultural movement in the history of the Western Hemisphere. Why? Because at the core of this cultural and religious Big Bang is the event that sparked a revolution, changed the calendar of the West, and has expanded into countless stories, carols, customs, rituals, movies, dramas, legends, songs, and poems. Legends like The Night the Animals Talked. Movies like Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life. Operas like Amal and the Night Visitors. Carols like Silent Night and O Come All Ye Faithful. Songs like The Little Drummer Boy and White Christmas. Poems like The Night Before Christmas. Customs like Santa Claus, nativity scenes, gift giving, the Christmas tree, lights, bubble lights, blinking lights, colored lights, strings of lights, 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 and more lights. And who can forget Hallmark's Christmas in July? At the heart of this phenomenon are the stories of the birth of Jesus, written in 2 of the 4 Gospels named Matthew and Luke. Where did these stories come from? And what was the intention of telling these stories by these two authors is the quest of this course called The Infancy Narratives in Matthew's and Luke's Gospels. Dipping into the work of Catholic, Protestant, and Jewish biblical scholars, we will take a trip through these 4 brief chapters found in the New Testament in the Bible. The first 2 chapters of the Gospel according to Matthew, and the first 2 chapters in the Gospel according to Luke. Join us. It will change your view of Christmas. Thank you.
Hello, my Osher friends. I'm Ed Fotheringill, and the course I'll be teaching this semester is called Ethics. So Western philosophy has been historically concerned with 3 primary fields of interest. First, metaphysics, which is the study of reality. Second, epistemology, which gives us various theories of knowledge. And finally, ethics, which is the study of goodness or virtue in thought, speech, and action. So this course will focus on ethics, and we will look at the ethical theories of 3 important Western philosophers: the ancient Greek Aristotle, the 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant, and finally, the 20th century French existentialist Simone de Beauvoir. So if you're interested in ethics, this course will attract your attention. So I thank you for your consideration, and I hope to see you in September.
Hi everyone, I'm Rick Bell. I'm a professor of history at the University of Maryland here in College Park, and I'll be teaching an online course with all of you on Fridays, I think, starting later in September and running through October and early November. And that course is called Fighting Slavery in the United States. It's a sequel course to a course with a similar title. I talked about the anti-slavery fight in colonial America, but this new one is going to pick up right after the American Revolution. It's going to begin by looking at the 1787 US Constitution as a pro-slavery document that would have to be overcome and worked around by anti-slavery activists. It then proceeds to explain to us about the domestic slave trade, about the Underground Railroad, about the rise of organized abolition. Think of Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. It talks about slave revolts. Think of Nat Turner, free black radicals like David Walker, and it moves slowly but surely through the chronology between the Constitution and the Civil War. In fact, the last 2 sessions of our 6-week course will tackle the road to the Civil War and the Civil War itself, which of course ushered in the destruction of slavery nationwide, an extraordinary climax to what had by then been 70 or 80 years of struggle since the passage of the Constitution. I hope you come along with me on this journey. You'll meet lots of famous characters that you may have heard of, lots of people you haven't, and we'll go deeper than you might have been able to do for a while. It's an exciting journey. I'm looking forward to it. Hope you come out and see me.
Hello, I'm Jackie Hedberg. What shall we do with the Indians is a question that's been asked since the first Europeans arrived at Jamestown and Plymouth. Political leaders, humanitarians, and pioneers alike through the centuries usually have looked at that question from the point of view that Indians were inferior people who should be told how to live their lives. First, Indians were told they must move further and further west. Then they were confined to reservations. When white settlers and businessmen still wanted more land, the government divided up reservations by a process called allotment. None of these policies eliminated the hundreds of tribes who lived in the United States. and none of them satisfied the insatiable desire of white settlers for more Indian land. Since World War I, our government has instituted a variety of Indian policies, some more favorable to Native Americans than others. Reorganization, termination, and even some degree of autonomy and self-determination, all have been tried. The amazing thing is that despite the upheaval, these various governmental policies have made in Indians' lives. And despite attempts to make Indians just like white Americans, tribal life has survived. Today, there are 574 federally recognized tribes in this country. Many of them are very poor. Some of them are thriving. All of them are confident in who they are. It's an amazing survival story. I hope you'll join me to learn about it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bob Baer, and in the fall I'm going to be teaching the legacy of Roman Britain. This class will explore the 4 centuries of Roman rule of Britain, one of the most fascinating and important periods in British history. It was a time of great growth in culture and communication, and Britain's earliest era of recorded history. The Romans established the country's original urban civilization in its first cities, including their capital, London. These planned municipalities became centers of classical culture, administration, entertainment, and commerce. They erected typical Roman buildings, including forums, theaters, bathhouses, basilicas, and amphitheaters. Romans left a great archaeological record of their cities, towns, forts, villas, and roads, including the immense Hadrian's Wall. This class will examine the unique fusion of classical Roman civilization with that of the native Celtic Britons, including their art, religion, economy, military, and lifestyles. This complex era of frequent change spanned the reigns of more than 80 Roman emperors and saw periods of peace, prosperity, and expansion, as well as times of upheaval and war, including the Great Rebellion by the Celtic queen Boudica. So I hope you can join me.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Reston, and I will be teaching Session 2 of the History of Women's Fashion from Underwear to Outerwear. Session 1 is not a prerequisite. Section 2 of the History of Women's Fashion will include clothing from the 50s and 60s, the evolution of maternity clothes throughout the centuries, and the timeline of women's bathing suits. We'll explore how and when jeans became a staple of our wardrobe, when they started out being designed for the gold diggers in the West, and for practicality. What is the LBD? It's the famous little black dress designed by Coco Chanel in the 1920s, and is most likely in everyone's closet at one time or another. When did the cocktail dress become a fashion statement? When did that word even appear in the dictionary? And when did a white shirt become a necessary piece of clothing for your wardrobe? Wedding dresses will be thoroughly explored, and their association with Queen Victoria will be revealed. Did you know that originally white dresses were unheard of in the past? Women's shoes, furs, pearls, and diamonds are all part of the course, as well as the iconic trench coat. These stylish coats started their life in the military, and everything on the coat was designed to help the soldier. We'll conclude with how, when, and why furs and diamonds became a negative symbol rather than a status symbol. Standardization of women's clothing sizes has a fascinating history. Finally, we'll discover how the Holocaust figures into all of this. We'll continue to learn the running theme that underlines all of fashion. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. There are many, many outside influences that cause fashion to change, adapt, and modify. It can be the government, religion, practicality, economics, or morals that can affect the change. We also learn about fashion through centuries of artwork. Whether fashion is your passion or you have a passing interest, the historical timeline makes for an interesting journey. I hope to see you in the fall. Have a safe summer.
Hi, my name's Fred Pincus, and I'll be teaching a course, The Impact of the Gaza War on the United States. I'll show how the war between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza has had profound impacts in the United States. I will not be discussing the complexities of the various conflicts in the Middle East. That's beyond my expertise. Although the U.S. government continues to support Israel, increasing numbers of politicians have been challenging that support. Public opinion polls have shown that both the Jewish community and the American public are divided on this issue. A number of questions remain. What is anti-Semitism? What is Zionism? Is criticizing Israel a form of anti-Semitism? What's the significance of the growing pro-Palestinian movement in the United States? Do American colleges and student protesters promote anti-Semitism? What are Jewish anti-Zionists and Christian Zionists? Although I will lecture on these and other topics, at least 20 minutes of each class will be devoted to discussion and questions. It's impossible to be totally objective when discussing the Gaza war. Even terms like anti-Semitism and Zionism have different definitions. I will, however, try to accurately present different sides of these controversies. I look forward to seeing you.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today on this introduction to Reclaim Your Health and Vitality, Immune-Boosting Nutrition. There's never been a more important time to improve your immune system. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm a licensed functional and clinical nutritionist with a master's degree in nutrition and integrative health. I'm also a certified holistic health coach. I have additional training in digestive health, diabetes, and the ketogenic diet. My passion is helping people achieve optimum health, one bite at a time, so that they can live their best lives. There's a new nutrition paradigm in the world today, and it's not because our nutritional needs have changed. Our bodies are essentially the same as they were 10,000 years ago. The food supply, however, has changed dramatically to the point where today's food is not always recognized by the body as food. In fact, it may be toxic. Consider high fructose corn syrup, genetically modified foods, or the toxic pesticides that are sprayed on the food we then eat. In this course, we'll discuss the connection between nutrition, lifestyle, and immunity. We'll identify essential nutrients for immune support and vitality. I'll identify affordable, effective ingredients along with achievable methods of incorporating healthful foods into your diet and lifestyle. You'll learn how to read food labels to identify high-quality foods, and then we'll apply the knowledge learned to create your own personalized healthful meal plans and introduce free, reputable resources to access going forward. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to joining you when this course begins. Have a great day.